This is the second part of the series. In the previous part we saw that our main character Ark has woken up as a skeleton knight in a fantasy world. He finds that he has an incredible power and wants to test his abilities. After that he take up some side quests to obtain some money. Eventually though he meets a female elf that is on a mission to free elves like her from slavery. After he helped her to free a group of elves and earning her trust, she asks if she could hire him to assist her further in the mission. The story continues as we see Ark express his worries for what Ariane's comrades might think of receiving help from an outsider. Ariane says that it won't matter, she can tell. Ark means no harm to the elves and he is the first human she has ever trusted. Ark then agrees to the job and he teleports her to a river near their destination. They head into the town of Diento to meet with Ariane's fellow warrior. Ark is excited to see this friend of hers, assuming her to be just as beautiful as Ariane. However, he is let down to see that her comrade is actually a man named Donka. He has a very intense glare. They move their meeting to a diner in order to avoid too much attention. Ariane asked why Ark is not eating and he simply says that he is not hungry. However, he thinks to himself how he is really trying to avoid exposing his skeleton form out of fear of their reaction. Ariane then introduces Donka. He is a warrior elf just like her and he comes from the same force she does. Ark attempts to exchange information with Donka but he simply ignores him, focusing on the food instead. Ark is further insulted when Donka asks what is it doing here. While pointing at him, Ariane goes over who Ark and Ponta are and how they have helped her so far, and Donka finally appreciates the help and thought how Ark may be of use. He then reveals the base of operations, that they will be infiltrating to rescue the slaves. They decide that it would be best to wait till later in the day to start the mission, and Ark says that he will use that time to take care of urgent business. After Ark leaves, Donka says he is shocked to see Ariane trust an outsider. She says that if Ark was not there she definitely would have been captured, and believes she is a failure as a warrior, especially when compared to her sister. Even he questions if Ark can be trusted once more, and Ariane tells him not to worry. Close by we find that Ark's urgent business is actually going to buy several dishes and eating with no one but Ponta around. To see elsewhere we get a glimpse of the dreadful conditions that the elf slaves are kept in. They believe that someone will come to rescue them but are only mocked. After that the trio begin their mission as we see that someone is watching them. Ark is surprised to hear Ariane express her plan to eliminate any enemies she encounters. She puts forward that they move further away so that Ark can use his teleportation spell without the light being seen. However, he says that won't be necessary and uses his short-range teleportation on the three of them instead, which impresses the elves. Thanks to her plumpy figure, Ariane has difficulty sneaking in through a window after squeezing through. She is annoyed to see that Ark just teleports in, but he says she need not to worry as they looked away from her embarrassing moment. They make their way through the building. They find out that 2 men have been killed moments ago, indicating that someone had just broken in before them. They decided to split up in order to inspect further. Ark finds more bodies and is attacked by the other intruder. However, the intruder's attacks prove to be powerless against him. Ark is delighted to see that his opponent is not only a ninja but a furry ninja. The ninja sees Ponta and apologizes for attacking, saying that befriending a spirit creature proves Ark is not pernicious. The ninja says that they couldn't find what they were looking for, but gives Ark some useful items that will help them in their quest to free the elves. Before leaving, the ninja reveals that there are 2 more elves being held captive in the Lord's Manor. Ark then appreciates that he met Ponta. Ariane looks at the papers and find out that there are elf buying contracts that prove Lord Diento is involved with the slave trading. Ariane asks how he got all this information, but Ark doesn't want to make things complicated by telling them about the furry ninja. So he lies and says he interrogated one of the villains. The 3 of them fight their way to the basement to the imprisoned elves. They are terrified when they see Ark bend the prison bars with his bare hands, but Ariane assures them that he is an ally. Ark then teleports everyone outside and removes the cursed necklaces from the elves. Donka grows even more surprised to see Ark's skillful ability use, and begins to wonder just who he really is. He then decides to take the elves home while making in charge of the rescue of the rest of the slaves to Ark and Ariane. As they prepare to teleport, Ark notices her looking at him with admiration, but she says it's nothing. One of the girls is concerned for them going alone. But Donka says to not worry since they will be able to sneak in with ease. They then watch in shock as Ark and Ariane cause part of the building to erupt in the castle. We watch as Diento torments the 2 elves, while forcing his son to watch as punishment for failing him. Ark's plan to sneak in quietly fails instantly as they are spotted by 2 guards. After running away, they manage to hide in plain sight. Thanks to Ark's armor, Dianto is warned of intruders. Just as Ark and Ariane make their heroic entrance, Ariane greets Dianto with a kick, and Ark intimidates Erlin, unintentionally revealing a hidden room. Ark tries to tell Ariana of his discovery, but changes his mind when he realizes he is interrupting her work. Dianto tries to intimidate her into stopping, and Ark wonders if she is going too far. However, Ariane says that he had broken the treaty first, and must now pay. She then lets the 2 elves have their turn, and we listen as they make him pay dearly. Ark leaves the rest of the fight to Ariane, as he has more urgent matters to tend to. The 2 elves leave, and Arya finds Ark with Ponta happily collecting bars of gold. She questions what he is doing, and he says that he has thought of a brilliant plan. He explains that by taking their gold, the abduction syndicate won't have the funds to rebuild their organization. She is impressed, and he can't believe she actually believed them. As they leave, they noticed explosions elsewhere in the castle. Ariane explains that no other elves would be there, and Ark thinks to himself that it must be the furry ninja. After getting to safety, Ariane gives him his relatively humble reward for fulfilling his contract. Ark explains that he has not yet decided on what he will do next, and she requests for him to go to the Elflands to continue helping her rescue elves from slavery. Ark continues to display his love of fantasy after hearing about the land of elves. His only concern is if the elves would welcome an outsider, and she explains that they must first get permission from an elder. However, she reveals that at the very least Ark must remove his helmet in the presence of the elder. Ark reveals that he fears she may turn on him if she were ever to see his face, but Ariane swears to never do so. He shows his skull and tells her that he doesn't know how it happened, and believes it to be a curse, thinking to himself how she wouldn't believe if he told her how he is actually his character from a video game. She then explains that since he has already done so much to help her, she will guarantee that his secret will be safe among the elves. Furthermore, she believes that the elder may have some information on how to lift the curse. They agree to travel together, as Ark thinks to himself how odd it is to embark on a journey to lift the curse he made up as part of his character's background. Later at the Kingdom of Rodan, we see King Carlin and his son Sect and Dakares and daughter Yuryarna discussed a recent incident involving Dianto. Sect says that he heard it was the elves, and he believes that it would make sense considering rumors that say Dianto had been involved in elf slave trade, which violates the human-elf treaty. Dakares is critical of his brother's suggestion, which prompts Sect to question why he would stand up for Dianto. The king stops the arguing and asks his daughter for her thoughts. Yuryarna believes they should ascertain the truth quickly and arrange to speak with the elves. The king agrees and asks his daughter to make arrangements to meet with them. Their meeting is adjourned, although it is clear both princes have their own agendas in the woods. We see that Ark and Ariane have taken a break on their journey. Ariana informs Ark that they are 2 nights away from reaching their destination when her stomach begins to growl. Ark leaves in search of some food, and Ariane fights the urge to touch Ponta as she does not want to wake her. Ark returns to find that Ariane and Ponta are having a bonding moment. They decide to prepare their meal, and Ark informs Ponta that he will also be partaking in the fuzziness later. Later we see that they have finally arrived to the elf settlement of Lalatoya. The gate to the elf village opens at Ariane's request, and Ark can't help but have a fantasy overload. She asks that he wait as she goes to get permission to meet with the elder, and Ark does after much time passes. Ariane returns and they make their way to meet the elder. The elder introduces himself as Adrian's father Dylan and her mother Glennis. Ark is shocked to hear that they are actually her parents, and even more shocked when her mother says she is 179 years old. Dylan thanks Ark on the behalf of all elves for his assistance, but then expresses his displeasure for his daughter attacking a feudal lord's palace. Ark comes to her defense and explains everything to the elder. Dylan finally understands but says that he will now have to explain it all. At the meeting of the elders in the town called Maple, Ariane says she will accompany him, and Dylan remarks that they must bring the trafficking contracts to their attention as well. Glennis brings dinner for the group, but Ark is a bit hesitant to eat. They all reassure him that there is nothing to worry about, and he removes his helmet to eat. The next morning we see Ark along with Ponta wake up, and they are informed that Ariane and Dylan have left for the day. We then see the two as they take a transport circle to Maple. The meeting is led by the chief elder Brian and prepares to hear Dylan's report on the investigation into the kidnappings. Back at the village, Glennis gives Ark a tour, The elves of the village whisper to each other about Ark's appearance and question their own safety with a human nearby. Just then a couple of the girls Ark had rescued earlier recognize him and express their gratitude since they are all better. Now Glennis watches with great admiration and says not to worry when Ark apologizes for the interruption. However, he is taken aback when Glennis then asks him if he would like to spar a bit with her. At the meeting they discuss how breaking a 400-year-old treaty is as much justification for a war as there has ever been. They wonder if the humans have forgotten how the last war between them 600 years ago was a catastrophe for both parties. However, they realized that humans have a much shorter lifespan than them and no human alive would remember. The chief explains that although they had broken the treaty, first attacking the Lord's home is excessive and if word spread it could start a war. He decides that the operation to liberate the elves will continue but that they must also carefully watch for the kingdom of Rodan's reaction. Ark is a bit wary of his sparring partner, but Glennis explains she was the one who taught Ariane how to fight so well. She also says that dark elves like her are blessed with physical gifts, and lastly she says that if he plans to travel with her precious daughter he must be tested first throughout the match. Glennis gives him helpful tips and Ark realizes the benefits of learning how to sword fight as Ariam walks home with her father. He explains that he wished they had time to see her sister and break the news that she will be getting married soon. Arian is in disbelief as she recalls how her sister has always been addicted to combat and would always say she would never marry. Just then her sister even aggressively greets Arian, hardly even acknowledging her father. Arian is curious about her sister's soon-to-be husband and even lists all his great qualities, even then becomes curious about Arian's love life. She is embarrassed and says there is no one, to which even says that if there were someone they would have to be stronger than her. After Glennis beats Ark once again, he realizes that high stats can only get you so far. They head back home where Ark and Ponta take a long-awaited bath. He is glad to finally be able to wash away all the sweat he has worked up, but then realizes that his body is actually incapable of producing sweat. In another room Arian gets undressed and heads to the bath, where she walks in on Ark, causing a commotion. Later Dylan says he wants the hierarch to assist Arian on her journey to rescue more of their people. However, as he does not have much in the form of payment, he offers information on something that may lead to breaking the curse on Ark. He explains that there is a spring near Lord Crown that is said to be able to break any curse. He goes on to explain that Lord Crown is a great tree that grows where one of the strongest dragons makes its home. Ark thinks to himself how the curse-breaking stuff was something he made up as part of his character's background for role-playing purposes. However, Ark tells Dylan that the information will be of great use and will more than suffice as payment for his services. Later that night Ark begins to question if his skeleton body might actually be a curse and thinks of spells that could undo it. He decides to give it a shot and test it out on just the tip of his fingers. He uses the spell and screams from shock as he watches his skeleton hand turn into a normal hand. So today up to this, now my recap come to an end. The link of the previous video is given in the description. Here are some other video. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.